Ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
And we're live.
Just pulling up the live so that way I have it available for the comments. There we go. I muted as well. It's allow the trickle effect to see if anybody's going to show up right now. Usually people will show up either in the beginning or during the conversation. And there we go. Somebody showed up already. Hello, whoever that is. Let us know who you are. Send some comments. This is going to be a great conversation. And give a little quick backstory on the amazing guest that we do have today. So I was able to just come across this amazing being through reading and hearing her beautiful expression of creation being shown through the art of poetry. So I was part of a group and still part of a group called Grace Meetings with my friend since kindergarten, Steve Sonato. And at the end of this meeting that we had, which was very, very powerful, he was like, I wanted to share this poem for you guys. I just felt like it was right to share it. It was called Drunken Love. And when he shared it, I'm like, wow. Who made that? Who read that? Or who made that poem? Who created that poem? And then when he said the name, and then I noticed the similarity. I was like, wait a second. We have the same last name. And I was called to just send her a message just to say thank you, because just how that poem impacted me so much that I wanted to share it, which we did on our podcast the next couple of days, and had our conversation about the essence of that and just how impactful that is for life. It was so amazing, and synchronistically, it was like a vortex when I had a conversation with her first, and come to find out, she also knows Steve Hardison, the ultimate coach, whose book just came out today for you guys on Amazon, and please read it. It's just such an amazing book. Steve, thank you for sharing you and being you, and also the possibility of this co-creation happening. So
Loving you, Steve.
Yeah. With that, now for the intro. intro. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us on another exciting episode of Our Daily Magic. What this podcast is magical conversations like we're going to have today, in which you get to see someone showcase their own unique magic for you and for the world. What our belief is we all are uniquely magic in our own unique way. We all have our own gift that was given to us from the higher power you're understanding, and it's ready to come out even more. And what these conversations do that we are going to have today is to help you to find ways to cultivate your unique magic into your life and to everyone's life who you come across. I am one half of the magical co-host Dell, and this is
I'm Kai.
and today I like to call today's conversation the conversations of the Hendersons.
I have the honor and pleasure of introducing Basia, who is a life and business coach with over 10 years of experience in learning and development, teaching, training, coaching, and mentoring. She works with leaders, business owners, service-based professionals, and creatives, and she helps them to access more clarity and creativity, expand their capacity, discover new possibilities, become more effective leaders, create more harmonious relationships, achieve extraordinary results, and experience more peace of mind, joy, and fulfillment in their lives. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. I was excited when I was reading her bio. I'm like, oh, I already got tons of questions to ask you. But before we get to those questions, definitely want to hear your story of your magical journey for how you're able to get to where you are right now. So the floor is yours, Basia, and thank you so much for being our guest today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and introducing me in such beautiful way. I'm just so honored to be here with the Hendersons. And actually, before I share my story, I just want to speak a little bit to that story of how we met, because I feel it's just magical how things happen. Talking about magic, how things happen, you know, I feel like when we create something, that creation happens through us. It's not even our personal selves. I feel we are the tool of the creator. So, you know, when I wrote that poem, and by the way, thank you so much for sharing this poem with your community. I'm so honored as well. And I haven't actually watched that episode, so I need to go back and watch it as well. I'm so curious about your take on it. So would love to listen to it. But you know, when I remember writing this poem, and I remember that it really came through me very effortlessly, you know, and the whole story, how it was shared with the world and how it reached you was also very magical and very it was like orchestrated by the creator. It wasn't by me, you know. Just kind of to you know, long story short, I woke up one morning a few days after writing that poem, and I had this idea to share this poem with Steve Hardison. It was completely random, because for the context, Steve and I were connected on Facebook, but I've never been his client. You know, we never really had a one-to-one conversation apart from a few messenger exchanges that were very sort of generic, you know. So, but anyway, got this idea. So I sent that poem to Steve, and we, at that point, we engaged a little bit in a conversation, and he asked me, am I allowed to share this poem in the future? So I said, of course, yes, I would be absolutely honored. And then a few hours later, he shared it with his community. He shared it, he created a post, he tagged me under this post, and of it goes to his community on Facebook, which is about 5,000 people, and many people shared it. Many people connected with me. Many people, you know, commented under this poem in such lovely way, you know. And then I think your friend was one of the people connected to Steve, and he saw that poem, and then he shared it with his community. So and I also wonder how many people that I will never ever find out about, you know, I will never talk to, maybe were somehow impacted by this poem. So it just fills my heart to know that I could contribute it's in that way, just by showing up to that creation, you know, having idea and then putting it on paper and then just sending it out there and seeing what happens. So yeah, I just thought I would share this.
Yeah. It also seemed like you created or allowed the creation to flow through you, and you just let it out. You let it out there. No expectations. Now, like, I'm letting this out and I'm expecting this to go everywhere and everybody's supposed to get it. You actually just let the flow happen and follow that nudge. Hey, I'm going to send this to Steve Hardison. And then the birth of that, and it's still birthed in. Like, I heard it a month or so ago, and my friend Steve, he actually flown to Arizona to have a be with session with Steve Hardison. So he's still doing it. Steve is still spreading it out there, spreading his seeds. He's unique. That's the way of explaining. He's unique, and like, he's just so amazing with his service that he does. And I was never a client of his as well, but like, he treats me as if I am one of his clients, which is so amazing.
Yeah, you know, actually after this, after a few exchanges on Messenger with Steve, after sharing this poem, I actually ended up speaking to Steve on the phone, and we just ended up having the most beautiful conversation, really inspiring. And you know, it was, as you say, you know, when he speaks to people, he speaks to them as they were friends, as he really knew them, this love he shares with people, and at the same time that intensity that really wakes you up, shakes you up a little bit. It's just beautiful. I feel really you know, lucky to have had that time with Steve in March. I think it was in March this year. Yeah.
I even tell you, so after you told me of you having that conversation with him, before, I was so intrigued to like just try to have a conversation with him, but I always stop myself, like limit myself from doing it. But from hearing you do it with your experience that you had with him, I decided to go off the edge and just ask him just to have a conversation with him. And like, it was only like 10 minutes, but it was like 10 minutes of a life-changing experience. Like, whoa, feeling that man's aura and presence. Like, oh my goodness, I can only imagine what happens when you're with him in person.
Yeah, that must have been beautiful. Okay, so maybe now to speak to your question about my story.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was about to ask. So like, what led to the creation of that, the poem, but like, even before that, your journey that got you to that point of actually being able to be how you are now, allowing creation to flow through you the way that it's flowing through you so miraculously.
Yeah. So, you know, I haven't always been super creative and you know, connected to myself and to my creativity and inner wisdom. But you know, going back to the beginnings sort of thing, I now see that as a child I used to be really creative, and all that creativity got zapped by loads of story and loads of conditioning, and it all happens. It happens to all of us, you know. But as a child, I always have been very creative and loved experimenting with different things and just put my like my fingers in everything. And you know, that's how children are, right? And so actually, you know, where my story starts, I was born in Poland and I grew up in Poland, and I always knew I wanted to you know, live somewhere else. Sort of like I always saw it bigger and busier and more opportunities. So I always wanted to live abroad, you know, always, well, since I was a teenager. So I moved to Scotland when I was 20. And you know, I since I was young, and I suppose maybe it started to form this belief maybe in my teen years when I went to high school. I really believed that, you know, money and recognition means success, and it brings love. And that's important context for the next 20 years of my life, I suppose, because, well, short of 20 years, because since I moved to Scotland, I would really chase that status and financial success, you know, because when I was younger, especially in high school, I had a bunch of friends who were all from quite wealthy families, and they were all very popular kids. And so this is what I attributed, you know, to I attributed that love and being popular and being liked to money and to status, you know. So then I went on and created that kind of life. So I went to university here in Scotland. I graduated with business management degree. Straight from university, I found a really good job in commercial properties. I stayed in this industry for 5 years. My career was, I was progressing quite quickly in my career. You know, I had promotion after promotion, and I was doing quite well. I was getting paid really well. And on paper, my life was amazing. You know, I had sort of everything already, and I was like in my early 30s. So, it was kind of what I was aiming for, apparently. And yet, you know, in my early 30s, I found myself feeling really empty inside and really just not aligned with anything, not aligned with myself, with my values. But I couldn't understand it at that point. I couldn't understand like what's not matching, what's not feeling good. And I just had that really strong feeling, I have to leave my job, I have to follow different paths, and I have to really find myself. I have to find something that is more meaningful for me. So in 2017, in April, I decided that I am going to leave my corporate job, and I'm going to try on my own. I'm going to become self-employed, and I'm going to see if that's going to work better for me. So I set up my first business. My first business was actually not coaching, it was sports massage therapy. I was at that point, I was already qualified as a sports therapist, and I already had some clients, not a very big client base, but I already had some paying clients, and I just went to develop it further. And in that first year of playing with being self-employed and trying to work it out, I don't know if you've been in corporate before and then transitioned, but it is quite an adjustment. So there was a lot of kind of feelings of confusion and feeling lost and trying to find my way. And I stumbled across coaching. And to be fair, actually, it wasn't my first experience with coaching, because when I was in corporate, I was part of learning and development department. And I was, as part of my role, I was actually coaching people, but it was not quite the same kind of coaching that I'm doing right now. It was very much performance-based coaching. So it's quite rigid, based on, KPIs and a little bit boring, to be fair, but I was kind of interested in that already. And when I then hired my first mentor at the end of 2017, I started exploring what I really want. And I decided, oh gosh, this is what I would like to explore. I would like to actually have powerful conversations with people and, help them find new possibilities, help them grow, help them find their clarity and their own sort of connect with their own power and wisdom within. So I started coaching actually in 2018, went and did coaching qualification. And then when it really changed for me was when I met my coach, who I've worked with the whole of last year. And he really connected me with the deeper parts of myself and really helped me see how, how much of those thinking structures I had that were unconsciously holding me back. He helped me see how, how my, well, not just my, but human psychology really works from the basics, and understand how we create our experience, moment from the inside out through thought, and also the powerful resources that we always have within ourselves that we can always connect to. And from that connection, from that sort of feeling of being home, and that innate wellness within us, that innate creativity that we have, that resilience, we can then create beautiful things on the outside without holding ourselves back. So I really fell in love with that, because my life changed. I healed my whole past. I experienced some trauma in my early life, and I went to therapy, to counseling before, and it kind of helped a little bit. It helped me manage it and helped me understand it a little bit more. At that moment, when I started working with my coach and got that understanding of who I really am, or how I'm creating my experience and what power I really have within myself, everything changed. My whole story fell away, and all those beliefs, and I started creating, and then I started helping people in such powerful way that their lives started changing, and everything started changing for them, and and here we are right now.
Yeah. So how do you feel about yourself? Understanding the kind of transformation that you provide for other people. This was a really big journey for you, in terms of your becoming. And now you've got these, awesome expressions that are just coming out of you like poetry. How else has this affected your personal life?
I think the most powerful change that happened and how my life is affected right now is this grounding that I have, in a way that I know that even when I'm going through something difficult in my life, it's going to pass. Even if I'm caught up in my thinking and my story, because we all do. It doesn't mean that when we heal, or when we change, when we start to feel good, that we're always going to stay there and we're never going to experience any negative thinking, or low moods or negative emotions. It doesn't mean it's not like that. It's just I'm so much better equipped in dealing with whatever life throws at me. I can be in the lowest mood, and I know I'm going to be okay, and I know I'm okay. Actually, sorry, not even I'm going to be okay. I know that anytime I am okay. I know that it's going to pass. I know that I can allow myself to feel all the emotions, whatever they are, because these are just passing clouds. And it's really powerful. As simple as it sounds, it's really powerful, and it's life-changing.
Yeah, I think the simplicity is why it's so profound and powerful, because simplicity is pure. And also, like the way that you explain it, that unconditionally okay, not the conditionally okay. Like, I'm okay when things are going great. When things aren't going great, I'm not going to be okay, compared to I'm okay even when things are not going how I perceive as great. I still will be okay. That's powerful, and it's simple.
It is. And there's so much power in simplicity, and I feel like in our society we tend to complicate things. We really it's this era of information. We can find information on anything. When you look at psychology has, I don't know how many, about 300 or 400 different approaches, and the number is growing. And what does it tell us? It's that those approaches don't necessarily work, and that's why people try to develop newer and newer approaches, newer frameworks, newer things that are apparently going to work. actually, when we start looking, and really the approach that I'm taking in my life, and the approach I'm helping my clients understand, it's really based on the ancient wisdom, on very basic wisdom, that everything you're seeking is within you. And when you when you look within, everything in your life starts to flow, or starts to realign in a powerful way, the kind of way that you would not necessarily figure out with your rational mind, with your intellect, with your thinking. But we're just so busy trying to figure things out, that we forget that we are created to the source that knows best, knows everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Trying to figure it out, but it's already figured out. Can you bring your awareness to decide that that's already figured out? Or do you want to continue to loop? Either way, source, like, okay, you want to play that game? Let's play that game. Play the game of chasing your tail until you realize that it's your tail.
And then talking about the game, life is a game. This being human is a game.
Yeah.
But I think we get really tangled up when we treat it so seriously, and we believe every single thought we have, instead of just observing what happens and playing with it and being more lighthearted and playful. And by the way, I'm not saying it from the position of like, I never do it.
Yeah. Oh no.
I totally get caught up in my thinking. I totally get caught up in my story. And I also get caught up and very serious sometimes when when things are not going very well in my life. Then I snap out of it really so much quicker because I have this understanding.
Yeah. In those moments when that does happen, it gives an opportunity to give ourselves a little bit of compassion, forgiveness. Because what can happen, I've done it before, of that loop. And when I'm aware that I'm in the story, I'm like, oh, why do I keep going in this story again? Or why do I keep feeling this emotion? Why does this thought keep happening? And compared to like, okay, it's here again. Like more compassion for myself, more forgiveness. Okay, I have an opportunity to choose something different.
Yeah, exactly. Choosing something different is so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's something we have for every single moment, that choice. What we like to choose in this moment. Do we want to continue this momentum for something that we deep down don't want to continue to experience? Or are we going to choose another way to look at this thing and choose a different action to take, or whatever may be needed? Maybe you just need to just sit down, just chill.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibility in just being, just sitting with our experience, and not not always doing, not always trying to change things on the sort of behavioral level, because actually there's this current that knows the way. And when we just still for a moment, when we find that stillness within us, that silence, we start to see the new way. We start to get fresh perspective, and more creative thoughts that can bring us solutions that we would never see from that kind of caught up, distorted frame of mind.
Yeah. How do you get into the stillness?
I think the most important thing, first of all, is understanding that it's always available, this state of mind. Sometimes it's just really just being with whatever it is and not fighting it. It's accepting and surrendering to your experience. You know, in the past, I used to experiment quite a lot with meditation. I would sit for hours in silence. Well, maybe not for hours. Well, every now and then if I have time. But you know, meditation used to be my regular practice. But now I see meditation more as a state of mind rather than a doing, like doing something. You know, I find myself actually in meditative state when I talk to my clients, when I listen, because truly when you truly listen, you don't think. You can't listen and think at the same time, like truly, you know. And we can notice it very often when we have conversations and we are thinking about what that person is saying, we're thinking already about the response that we should give. We're not truly listening, we're actually listening to our thinking at that point, you know. There's something so you know, beautiful and really powerful and transformative about true listening when you sit down with the person with a completely empty and open mind and just listen what they're saying and taking it in without thinking about it, you know, because that listening then happens and we process what we hear from the deeper place in ourselves through our wisdom, not through our intellectual mind. And at that point, I really find myself, when I talk to my clients, I find myself in this very still, peaceful, meditative state. So that's one of the times when I feel like I'm really able to settle and slow down. But, you know, sometimes it's just doing everyday things and being completely present and not thinking about the next thing that I have to do, you know, or not judging the thoughts that I'm having in my head, because I don't think we can actually stop our thinking, you know. We can, you know, we can change our thoughts. I know in personal development there's a lot of talking about, you know, when we have a negative thought, change it into positive thought. But I call it fallacy. I don't believe that you can actually change thought, because thought is not yours. It comes not from you, it's given to you. And when, you know, you're not in charge of the thought, if you don't create thought, that how can you be so arrogant and claim that you can actually change it, you know? All you have to do is just observe it and wait for the next one to come. And at some point, you know, after being so caught up in maybe some negative thinking, will be a different quality of thought. You know, there will be a more lighthearted thought, more positive one, right?
Yeah. I was saying while you're saying that, we're going somewhere now. The gotta change it. Do. Sound for me, it sounds very egoic. Trying to gotta change this thought that's already here. Like, it's here. How can you change something that's already here?
Mm-hmm.
That's just my curious question.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you're talking about, like the thoughts. And trust me, I try to change my thoughts so much, and all this effort that was taken to try to change it. I'm like, I'm having this thought right now, like,
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you mentioned the way of just letting it go by, like the cloud, it's gonna come, it's gonna go. I really feel like for me, it's like what you do with the thought that truly matters. Like when a thought is here, how do you be with that thought, and how do you move with that thought moving forward from whenever it comes? But like the mind is always doing stuff for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. I love what
So
you said, how you be with that thought, because, you know, when I'm saying, you know, don't treat your thinking or your thoughts so seriously, it might sound like I'm trivializing thoughts, but actually thought is the most creative and most powerful power and energy out there.
yeah.
So I just want to clarify that I'm not saying that, you know, never treat your thoughts seriously, because it's just when it's heavy, it's not very helpful to engage with it,
Yeah.
because then you jump on that train of thought and it can take you to a really dark place, right? To this rabbit hole, and you make you hold on to the, that kind of thought and patterns that are getting created, that loopy thinking. And obviously thinking creates emotion, right? So then when you're feeling that emotion, the more thinking you will do about the same thing, the stronger that emotion is, the stronger, the longer it stays. And that's how we get depressed, anxious, and all sorts of, we start to have all sorts of mental health problems, right? But on the flip side, when you have a creative thought, go and grab it, go and do something with it, go and create. I had a thought one day, send my poem to Steve Hardison. If I just say like, oh, it's just thought, I'm not going to treat it seriously, I would have wasted this beautiful opportunity to meet you guys and be here on this podcast, right?
Yeah.
So how do you personally discern between which thoughts you're going to take action on and which ones you'll just let float by?
That's a great question. And to me, it's how it feels. It's all in the feeling. So I see that our feelings are nothing else, first of all, the energy going through us. Emotion, it's energy in motion, goes through your body, teaches you something. Sometimes is literally just there to show you that the quality of your thinking is not the most helpful at this time. So it means engage more with that thinking. So for example, if something makes me feel really anxious, I just know that I don't want to engage with that kind of thinking anymore because it's not helpful. On the flip side, if a thought feels gentle, if it feels inviting, it feels curious, I want to kind of explore it a little bit. I want to play with it. I want to share it with others. I want to maybe write it down and see what else happens, comes out of it. So yeah, to me, it's the feeling, how that thought feels.
Thank you. Makes a lot of sense.
And it just actually, I just want to share it. Sometimes when we have lots of unhelpful thinking, heavy thinking, we, as I said, we get into those heavy emotional states. And I just want to say that we tend to be really afraid of certain emotions, right? We tend to say these emotions are good and I want to feel loads of these emotions, but these emotions are bad and I'm afraid to feel these emotions, And this is when we get into trouble, because, when we're at all costs trying to avoid certain emotions, we are repressing them, or unconsciously we're actually holding on to them. Because so what happens? Okay, if someone has a fearful, anxious emotion or very sad emotion, very basically uncomfortable emotion, they want to change it. So what we do is we try to figure out where this emotion is coming from, what it's all about, what affected it, where in childhood maybe I experienced something that also created that kind of emotion. So it probably goes from that event in the childhood, So we get really tangled up in thinking, trying to figure it out, because we think that if we figure out where this emotion came from, it's going to go away. But actually what we really do is we are holding on to this emotion. Okay. Another thing we do is we try not to feel this emotion at any cost. So we try to do things to make us feel better, but we will maybe engage in addictive behaviors or not very healthy behaviors. We will maybe, start going to the gym a lot or overworking, so that we're not thinking about these things that create those emotions and we feel different, or we are trying to feel better through certain external things, right? Because if something out there can make me feel better, I don't have to feel this thing inside of me. All we really do is we're just stuffing them down for them to resurface later and really cause much more damage, because when they resurface in unexpected ways, unexpected time, you know, they can really take us by surprise, and they can create a lot of unhealthy behaviors or unhelpful behaviors, destructive behaviors, create conflict in relationships. And you know, so it leads me just to again saying, when we're experiencing certain low quality emotions, we don't have to change them, because they will change on their own when we let them be, without thinking about it much, without figuring it out. Because our mind is designed this way that if it's low, it will then self-correct and go up if we just leave it this way, you know, because our innate design is wellness. You know,
nature.
exactly. And just to maybe make it a little bit more real, you know, when you're feeling really sad, what do? You cry. This is the mind's, the whole system's natural way to clear, right? You cry. But certain people are told, again, conditioned to think that crying is not healthy. So what they do when they start crying, they want to stop it, they want to escape it, they want to maybe find something that will make them laugh, or, you know, just even that thinking, that judgmental thinking about it, that this is wrong, I shouldn't be feeling this way, I shouldn't be crying. Basically, you're messing with the system, and the system is designed this way to actually make you feel better, you know. And it's just in nature, things work that way, right? When you cut your skin will repair itself at some point. The healing process starts in your head. You start to have a little bit of inflammation, which is actually healing process, right? You will get the little scabbing, and then it falls away, and then it's clear, right? So if your body can clear, you know, again, if you maybe get poisoned, you know, if you have food poisoning, or if you eat too much, your digestive system is designed this way that it will want to heal, so it will want to get rid of this stuff, right? I'm not going to say what ways, but we all know if we get poisoned, our body will get rid of it. We'll get rid of it, right? And exactly this way, our mind also heals itself. It will get rid of that energy that goes through you, and sometimes in more gentle, and sometimes in more, you know, less gentle ways, right?
Yeah. I love that, because it brings the balance. But can you allow the balance to happen? And yeah, there's so much society conditioning that this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is evil. And the worst judgment is like we're judging ourselves naturally for our natural flow, judging our natural flow that happens, and we start beating ourselves up or afraid to just be with that. It's funny because like the thing that I hear a lot from people, and I know like they're trying to like not process stuff, is I got to keep myself busy. So it's like for me, it's like a little indicator, like, okay, I don't want to be with my emotions right now, or I want to be with myself right now. And yeah, it's so much beauty, because I've been on that side too, try to keep myself busy, entertain, or numb things out so I don't have to feel the pain. But on this opposite side of things, is letting things naturally happen and being with it and accepting things as it comes, and be as excited as I am when I'm excited, even when I'm feeling sad and upset and angry, being excited with that as well, because it's a natural flow. And I used to fall into that story too of, let me find out where all these parts of my life that this anger is coming from and all these other things. And my mind would give me so much examples. And even my mind would try to give me present examples to get angry at as well, compared to like, oh, I'm just angry right now and I'm just going to be with it. Just be with it. and just allow it to
Exactly.
flow.
I just love what you said, Del, about, even when you're not feeling great, you can enjoy it, right? Like you can
Hmm.
feel excited about it. And I totally resonate with it, because even when I'm caught up, and if I can't see through that thinking in that time, because it feels at that point, when I'm really caught up, it really doesn't seem like just my thinking. It seems like this is my reality. Like this is
Hmm.
so real. Like I can see other things as just my thinking. Then certain things, when they're real for me in that moment, I can't see that is I'm getting caught up in my thinking and in that story. But at the same time, because I know how the mind works, I know that once I start to see through it, once I get this glimpse of insight,
Hmm.
I'm going to actually learn something from this experience. And that
Hmm.
way, just that knowing allows me to be in that experience, even though it doesn't feel good. I'm feeling caught up, I'm creating lots of story. But I know that once I'm on the other side, I'm going to see so much more. I'm going to see so many new things. I'm going to learn so much from this experience. So I just, yeah, love what you said. Love what you said.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, for you, because you have experienced it before, so you know what is the potentiality on the other side of things. And a lot of people out there, they never even they never even got to that experience yet to be able to see that what that potentiality is on the horizon, the other side. And that's why it's like just so powerful to receive mentorship, to receive coaching, to receive therapy support of somebody who can see that other side of things to help you to get into that space of possibilities. It's so amazing because once you see that, oh wait, okay, like now I know. So when this comes on, that's like the excitement of being upset, because you're like, okay, I know that something amazing is going to happen through this, but right now I got to go through, I like to call it, into the thick of it, like the backyardigans. I like to go into the thick of it with these emotions and whatever's happening. I know what's going to happen on the other side of it, and I'm excited for that. And also, I'm excited for this right now. I'm actually getting an opportunity to learn more about myself and be with myself unconditionally. It's game over. You could be with yourself in
Exactly.
that way, you're good.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I feel it. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
we get to experience source or God or whatever high power understanding is, because that's the way that God is with us in every moment. And we get to
Mm-hmm.
actually be God in these moments, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And I just love to bring this conversation into then more tangible,
Yeah,
uh, you know, uh,
perfect.
results of that kind of understanding, right? Because people might think, oh, we're just talking about like, oh, okay, all feelings, all thoughts. It's very abstract, right?
Yeah.
No, I see it with my clients when I work with leaders, when they get this understanding, they start to create different kind of results in their work with their teams, because they get so much more clarity. Their capacity really expands, capacity for stress, for dealing with stress, their capacity to come up with creative ideas, their capacity to be with their team, listen, to understand, to also be with people in that way that brings the best out of people. When people are really caught up and try to do that leadership, which basically I have this distinction between management and leadership. Management is like a function, is a job title, and it's a function or a series of actions that we do, and are more determined maybe by the structure of the company. This is how we do things. Whereas leadership is this quality of being, is this skill that is, when cultivated, it really brings out the best in people. It helps people grow. It creates this understanding between the leader and the team, and then within the team as well. So this understanding creates lots of beautiful, tangible results. It really helps people be different in relationships, be more compassionate, be more understanding, see other people's innocence, because they don't get caught up in their stories, and they don't buy into other people's stories. They are able to be just more present with others. So that's a huge tangible result, right? Same with wellness, because people stop engaging in unhealthy behaviors. People literally stop addictive behaviors, because they start to feel like, they start to see that addiction actually stems from one thing, from getting caught up in that attempt to feel better, get away from uncomfortable feeling. And then when you start to discover that actually you can get that feeling without doing anything, or you can be with any feelings that come up,
Yeah.
and then more and more you start to actually experience those really peaceful moments, those blissful moments, are really much better than any high you can get from something external.
Yeah.
And people start to become more healthy, more, just looking after themselves. So yes, so many tangible outcomes.
Yeah. I was already thinking about, as you mentioned, like addictions, and I just remember my own story of addictions, of using that to get into that place. But now, like, from being out of it and looking at it from a different awareness, as you were talking, I was thinking like, wow, one of the main reasons for doing that stuff, that those addictive patterns, was for me to be able to shut my mind up, or to detach from my mind and not be so attached to it, and actually be in a moment of enjoyment and stuff. And in the episode that Kai and I did, when we talked about your poem, I was talking about the moments of, like, let's say like at a party or something, when people are drinking and like they're just in the moment. They're not thinking about the job that they hate. They're not thinking about the ex. They're not thinking about whatever is causing them a lot of struggle, a lot of conflict. They're just in the moment, having fun, enjoying and connecting. But then I really, like, there's natural ways of doing it that doesn't cause that much harm to yourself, or potentially harm the others. And these type of conversations that we're having, and you sharing your experience, it just shows people the potentiality of, like, there's different ways, but deep down, you just want to be able to detach from your mind, detach from those destructive thoughts, and actually be at peace in the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's so powerful to know that we don't have to do anything, but just observe it and let it pass. And some more creative and some more beautiful thinking will come when we just allow it, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to know that through connection and conversation, that people can really eradicate the sense of how things are supposed to be. Oh, my mind is supposed to be clear, or oh, I'm not supposed to be thinking these thoughts. And just realizing that, part of the human condition is just how you are.
Yeah. We're making a shift. It's coming back now, this stuff. Because especially, like, we're seeing more and more examples of the way that it was before, as it pertains to thoughts, or what is right, what is wrong, isn't working in an expansive universe. So
that would be so funny if, like, discovering like a new land and being like, oh, this tree is right, or this tree is wrong, as you're encountering new landscapes. It's like, just when we translate some of these concepts, it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly, right? When we see a tree that is growing, sideways, or is bending, or it's, we're not judging that tree is wrong and it should be different, right? We just look at it and say, it's beautiful, right?
yeah, it's pretty cool. That is, like, that tree wants to stand out and be unique. So like, I honor that. Stand out. Like, all these other trees are la la la. This one's like,
Yeah.
Don't put little twigs around me.
Yeah, it's just I so love that Kai, you brought that nature again, uh, this conversation, because really we can learn so much from nature, right? Nature is just so much wisdom in how things happen in nature, you know, that consciousness in every living thing in nature is mind-blowing. We still don't understand so much, but when you look at trees, you know, they have a really complex systems underneath the, you know, the ground, and they communicate. So when one tree doesn't get enough nutrients, other trees will send
Yeah,
nutrients to that tree. I mean, what does
that's
it
crazy.
really show you? Also, as humanity, we can learn so much from it, especially that, you know, we live in this world that is so connected and so disconnected at the same time, right?
Exactly.
So I
Mhm.
think especially at you know, nowadays, this um, no idea, but this understanding that we are all connected, that we can all support each other, and you know, really doing so is so powerful. Um, yeah, it's just beautiful. I love nature. I love going, you know, going for walks, exploring new places. I love watching animals or animal programs as well, just learning about, you know, different instincts and things that animals do. It's beautiful, beautiful. We can all learn from it.
Speaking about animals, I was having a conversation yesterday. We were talking about like bugs. So like, for example, like when a bug comes into your home, and and if you kill the bug in your home, is it wrong to do that? Is it wrong to like kill the bug that's in your home? And I was like, it could be seen like that, or it may not. It can also not be. Be different things. Like you left your door open and you kept traps, so like bugs came in deliberately, so you could deliberately kill them. And I was like, another example, I'm like, is a lion a horrible being? If you go into the lion's den and you get mauled, is a lion's an evil thing now because it killed you because you're in his territory? Do we ever think about it that way?
Yeah, true. But you know, there's um, I don't know. I think the more connected we become with our true nature,
Mhm,
the more we access our wisdom, the more we
mhm.
know what to do. And then, of course, your common sense will be not to go to lions den, right?
Yeah,
And at the same time, we feel, you know, connected to every living creature. So obviously, you know, we feel more compassion, we feel more love for every living creature, right?
yeah, yeah.
I like, speaking from my experience, I used to be really petrified of spiders. You know, I really didn't like any kind of crawling things in my house, you know, and I still don't really love them. But somehow lately something changed and I couldn't actually kill one. You know, I will catch it and I will put it outside, you know. Don't know enough about all the bugs and I don't know which ones are actually going to survive outside or not, but somehow, you know, I kind of trust that it's better than actually killing it. So I don't know, it's
Yeah.
just when you're more connected to yourself, you're more connected to everything that is living, and the more compassionate you are, I feel.
Yeah, yeah. With spiders, I do that, but it's these freaking little gnats that be in the house, man. When I'm trying to just mind my business and be at peace, and this little thing. So maybe that's my learning experience of more compassion and more connectedness to it. Or maybe it has a story to tell me. I used to think of them as fairies before. Maybe they are fairies. I don't know. But this has been very good. We're almost at the top of the hour. So definitely want to finish this conversation. This has been an amazing conversation, but definitely want to allow the opportunity for you to allow people to know where they can find you. You have anything potentially coming up that people can reach out to you for? And one magical message that you would love to share with our audience, even though you shared an abundance of magical messages through this whole conversation, but just one message that you love to share with our audience that they can take from you to be able to integrate in their life.
Okay, I think that one message would be slowing down. You know, when things feel really cloudy or sped up in your life, or you get caught up, just let yourself that moment or few to slow down and just be with yourself, with that experience, with your thinking, and you know, in non-judgmental way, and let your mind self-correct, and just things will start making sense when you know, when you park it at that moment. So let's say when it's something appears as a problem, you know, instead of going into fixing mode and trying to figure it out, that problem, just parking it for a moment and letting it sit and sitting with it, or sitting without thinking about it, your mind will self-correct. You will see things from a different perspective when you just leave it for a moment. Your mind will find more creative solutions when you just slow down and be with it. So I think that's probably one of the most powerful things that I found out, you know, apart from all the things about thought and understanding emotions and stuff that I shared with you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And where can people find you? And if you have anything coming up, any events or anything, feel free to share it as well right here.
All right. Okay. So I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Everything under Basia Henderson, Basia Henderson. And actually, very recently, I started playing with this project. It's very recent. I mean, for the past few days. It will be a project called Inside Out Reflections. Inside as like not inside, but insight. And so it will be a series of conversations with people on different topics. I actually I recorded one conversation on leadership, but I will be interested to talk to people about different concepts they're playing with, or different insights that they had in their life. So that's coming up very soon. And yeah, and I would love to hear from anyone who's interested in the things I shared. I love connecting with people. I love having conversations. I love when people ask questions or get curious and want to see something new about themselves. So yeah, anyone wants to get in touch with me, they can do so on these 3 platforms.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your wisdom, your presence. And also best of luck to you as you dive into this really interesting project. It sounds really cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. It's been an absolute honor to be here and share things with your community. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you as well. And for our audience, until next time, stay magical.